Welcome to Big Basket Now presents the RCB podcast.
This is the age of rise of women in sports. Today is when the future of grassroots women's sports development is being written, and if there is one foundation championing the cause with the massive impact, that is the Naandi Foundation. Their work on rural women and girls sports is an inspiration for a whole generation. My guest today is the person who's spearheading that change, Rohini Mukherjee, the Vice President of Naandi Foundation. Welcome to the RCB podcast, Rohini.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
So nice of you taking the time and being part of this podcast. There are so many questions on our mind. But to begin with, does India have a separate rural sports economy that is running parallel?
Not that I can see. So frankly, we live, Naandi Foundation, we work on many parts of rural India. And I wouldn't say that I have seen anything like a rural sports economy. It is true that most of our, the champions that we hear of, whether they are Asian Games medalists or even Olympic medalists, when you listen to their story, they are from some rural area. But I don't think it's a rural economy that spurred them to get to where they are.
Right.
There isn't one. And even less so for girls.
Can we know how you got involved with the ecosystem in the rural sports business?
So Naandi Foundation has a very large program called the Project Nanikali. It's a Nanikali program, which is now more than 15 years old. The idea of that program was to support girls from low-income families in rural areas to complete 10 years of education. Very simple. So they're all government school-going girls, grade 1 to grade 10. We kind of support them in various ways throughout these 10 years. None of that was sports. But when I started, I was a national head for operations for that program. And though I haven't really been an active sports person myself, I believe very strongly in the power of sports. And I always used to think that these girls, we are giving them academic support, we're giving them other kinds of support. Sports is this big gap that we have to do something about. And around 2019, we actually met somebody who could head it. See, you need a sports, technically somebody who's sound in sports, and we found that right person. Because it wasn't just the being sound and technically in sports. It meant it's a woman. It meant somebody who understands, the constraints in rural India, culturally, etc. And we found the right person, Lisa Murawski, and that's when we actually started. I remained because of my passion, because I want every girl to have this experience. And also, I have over 30 years of working with communities, rural communities. So I think that's my role.
बस यही बोलना है? यही तुम्हारा ऐड?
Yeah, that's it.
सही है यार. Now delivering in 10 minutes.
Is there a problem of mindset that still exists when it comes to sports and rural India? You would be the right person to take us through that.
Absolutely. And it's not just rural India. It's in urban India as well. And actually, sometimes, and now I'm on a Royal Challengers podcast, I don't know whether I should be saying this, but also in formal professional sports, there is men and women are not seen equally. Even just if you look at participation at administration or, IOC committees, etc., women are very few. Coming to where what I know well about, that is rural India and girls there, it's very tough for girls, mainly because of social, it ranges from trivial things like, oh, don't go out in the sun, you'll get dark and then we won't be able to get you married off, to not having proper footwear, not having the proper clothes which are suitable for sports. So there are so many challenges. There's that. And then there is, of course, facilities are not there.
Right. We see global sporting franchises or global sporting leagues, the Premier League or even the IPL penetrating to the rural market like how? But is there scope for fan engagement, which you think bigger brands can think of?
I think yes, like you said already for IPL, I mean, even the recent World Cup now, every village, you'll find people playing cricket on the ground. So it goes from, from event to event.
Yes.
There's certainly a huge market. But I'll tell you where I'm coming from. I'm in the middle of grassroots sports. I'm in the middle of trying to see how sports can become a way of life for these girls. Fan fandom is not really in our ecosystem right now. My understanding may be wrong, but I feel fandom is a lot about those who are not able to be active in sports themselves for whatever reasons. They then become these, really strong fan bases because they're not being able to do it themselves. I may be wrong in my interpretation. That's how I see it. We are wanting every girl to be active herself. So I don't know how much our work will actually contribute to a fan movement, but generally speaking, absolutely. There's a huge market, and now because everybody's watching everything on their phones, so you don't have to walk to somebody whose house has a TV and then watch the match there. I think the potential is massive.
We saw the BCCI set out an example by bringing about pay parity with the men's and the women's team. We see a top-down approach happening here. Does this work best for empowering rural sport as such?
I think so, yes. Because one of the reasons you don't see women in sports much in our country, I can't talk about other countries, but in our countries, definitely it's not seen as a livelihood. Everybody thinks that, oh, but then, how will I run my house? But if this becomes something that also pays you, like we are at a very grassroots level looking at training women to become coaches, again, grassroots level coach, that becomes a livelihood for them as well. So short answer is yes. That was the long answer.
बस यही बोलना है, यही तुम्हारा ऐड?
Yeah, that's it.
सही है यार. Now delivering in 10 minutes.
Rohini, if you can give us a fair understanding of how much of mental health awareness and how sports can help in improving one's mental health, awareness about that is existing, and whether there is definitely a chance or scope for a lot of work to happen around that area involving sports in the grassroots level per se.
Sports in general for health, be it physical, mental, I think is huge. Somewhere in this academy, I just saw something about the endorphins that get released. So we all know about that. That has impact on mental as well as physical health. I'm not a sports person, but when I go for my morning walk, that's the happiest moment of my day. So I think there is something about open air and physical movement which keeps people happy. And to that extent, I would say, yes, we must include this as a way to establish mental health.
Would you like to throw some light on the impact the Naandi Foundation has made on a few individuals and how the lives have changed?
Sure. I'd like to talk about this young lady called Bhavika from a village in Gujarat, a very poor family, mother of two. I think 3 years ago, we announced that we want to, it was an experiment from our side, that we were announced a program where we asked women to enroll to learn to become a football coach. And Bhavika signed up. The first day she comes, she's wearing a sari with the end of her sari on her head. And I'm thinking, okay, now what's going on? But I didn't want to say anything. It was experiment from our side also. I thought we'll see how it goes. She realized for herself that she's not a child. This is probably not for her. That was 3 years ago. Cut to today, Bhavika is a D license. She's got a D license, coaching license from AIFF. And she goes to our various locations. She belongs to a village in Gujarat. She goes to Darjeeling to coach the girls over there. Recently, FIFA announced some community coaching program. Actually, in Pune, there was some selection or something. Bhavika went for it. Her husband went with her, not to look after her. For him, it was an opportunity to see a city he has not seen because his wife was going there. So for me, Bhavika is like and it doesn't take time. She had not seen a football in her life. Forget about knowing how big a football pitch is and so on. She does refereeing for our girls' matches.
Wow. It makes me so happy to listen to these stories. It's absolutely wonderful. Sports for change, and here is testament to it in no bigger way. If we are to talk about how rural sport can be made global, Kabaddi would be a fair example. What would be the way to go about it?
See, I don't know what you mean by going global. So Kabaddi example is an example of an Indian sport, which is now. So definitely Kho-Kho is another one. Kho-Kho is something our girls love, especially. So we work in many states of the country. Different states, they have different preferences. So Maharashtra loves Kho-Kho. All our girls in Maharashtra are saying, okay, athletics fine, football fine, but when are we going to do Kho-Kho? So I think in Kho-Kho there is a opportunity. For us, however, we work on large scale. We are going with football and athletics because these are low equipment requirement games. And we work with 160,000 girls. So whatever, we have to multiply by 160,000. So we keep the equipment low. Having said that, both Kho and Kabaddi don't need much equipment. So yeah, we might consider those as well.
बस यही बोलना है, यही तुम्हारा ऐड?
Yeah, that's it.
सही है यार. Now delivering in 10 minutes.
Finally, let's talk about the monetization part or the money coming in to support the cause as much as possible. How do you see it happening so that this is a sustained way of ensuring that the steps and the models are built that makes it easier for sports athletes?
Again, I talk from my grassroots level experience. So when we go around fundraising, I'm kind of head the fundraising team also. So my first step in that exercise is to understand what will the donor understand. See, I can package my work in sports in many ways. I can call it girl empowerment. Some people hate that idea of empowering girls. So to them, I will not say this word. To some, it is about physical and mental health. So sports is such a, you can describe it in so many ways. It fits many buckets. So, and many different kinds of investors, donors who have a vision, which is maybe not pure sports, but something else that sports also comes there. So I feel the canvas is very wide. Creativity on behalf of people like us who are looking for the funds, and also I feel awareness on those who have the money on what is the potential of sports. Normally, there's a very narrow thing of, okay, I want champions. But sports is much, much more than champions. In fact, if you do the much, much more, the champions will come automatically. So I feel often that I want to sit people down and tell them that why are you looking at it in such a narrow place? The champion will have, but spread it wide. Let the base be very wide. I don't know if I answered your question, but this is what I think.
You certainly did. And I do think that it's about enjoying that little moment of sport and what it can actually do is wonders. If it is working for you, let alone just enjoy that moment and let the
I talk to our girls, they won't say it in so many words. I'm saying it to you in English. But just when I run and I feel the wind on my face, I love that feeling. That's what they say. Now, how do you monetize or quantify this feeling?
Absolutely. Thank you so very much for spending time with us.
Thank you.
Tell us about your experience of being here at India Leaders Meet and, of course, RCB Innovation Lab Leaders in Sport.
I'll be very, very honest here, which is that I do only grassroots level sports and I'm not directly a sports person myself. So when I got this invite and it had the RCB day, I'm like, oh my God, is this happening to me? I'm going to a RCB event. It was like that. Because anybody in India is like in awe of RCB. I didn't know RCB. I knew about because of cricket and things, but I didn't know about, the innovation lab and all of that. I'm learning so much. I'm like soaking in every moment today. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, we are very happy that we were able to have this interaction, and we certainly got to know a whole lot about the good work that's happening. That's all for Sports for Change, and we look forward for plenty more in supporting, cheering for our athletes and the future generation to come.
Thank you so much.
Rohini, thank you so much. Pleasure. Thank you.
Big Basket Now presents the RCB podcast.